The wedding reception was being held in a midtown hotel, in what was called its green room. Pike would have preferred a better backdrop for his black and white photographs, the green being somewhat murky, but he certainly wasn't lacking for subjects. In addition to his darling Augusta and her good-looking, he had to admit, new husband, there were a great many models at the reception. Augusta's friends consisting largely of people in that profession, just as Bart's friends were people in the law enforcement business. There were other photographers there, too, naturally, all of whom had Nikons slung around their necks, all of whom were taking pictures, but none of whom was the official photographer. Augusta had asked Pike to be the official photographer, and had of course offered to pay him. He had accepted the job joyfully and had refused to accept a dime in recompense. He didn't know how many rolls he'd exposed during the ceremony itself, but he knew he'd kept the shutter release clicking and the strobe light flashing every few seconds. Most of his angles had favored Augusta, but that was forgivable. He had taken pictures of Bud standing at the altar. Was that his name? With another cop who was his best man, both of them looking up the aisle as though they were expecting an imminent burglary. And he had photographed Augusta's long walk down the aisle on her father's arm, caught every step of it. Augusta looking radiantly ecstatic, her father looking like a paper mill executive, which was what he was, dressed up in a monkey suit for only the second time in his life. The first time having been his own wedding. Pike had got good reaction shots of the people sitting in pews on either side of the aisle, too, and then he'd caught the anticipatory look on the minister's face, and he'd kept the shutter and the strobe going all through the brief ceremony. Later, he'd caught Augusta and Boyd getting out of the limo and going up the hotel steps, and then he'd got some great shots of the receiving line and some equally marvelous shots before and during dinner. He was now roaming the room, taking candids of the guests. The place was packed with dazzlingly beautiful girls who, like Augusta, were used to being photographed and used to seeing their faces and figures in national magazines, on television screens, and, in the case of at least one girl here today, on motion picture screens. Each knew with unerring accuracy just when to toss her head back, or break into a wide smile, or step out with her skirts flaring, or gesture with her hand, or raise her eyebrows. An instant before Pike pressed the shutter release button, the pose was struck. A girl could be stuffing an olive into her mouth just before Pike raised the camera to his eye, but by the time he clicked the shutter release, by the time the strobe flashed, she had swallowed the olive whole, lifted her chin, turned her head over her shoulder to give Pike her best profile, and smiled tantalizingly and promisingly into his lens. He wandered across the room to the bar now, asked the bartender for a bourbon on the rocks, and then sipped at it quietly while he listened to the conversations everywhere around him. Shop talk. Crime and fashion. A great combination for a bleak Sunday in November, your only daughter's wedding day. My only what? Pike thought and grinned and raised his glass in a silent toast. It was a medical ad, you see. A beautiful brunette at his elbow was saying to a husky, red-headed cop with a frightening white streak in the hair over his left temple. I got to this sitting at 3 o'clock, and the photographer led me inside and explained that this was an ad about cancer and about getting checkups and all that, and he asked me if I knew it was a nude sitting. I said, "What do you mean nude? What is this?" He said he thought the agency had told me. The idea was the model would be shot nude, and the copy would run right across her body, but you'd still, of course, be able to see her. I told him I didn't do nude work, but I'd rather get shot with a gun than get shot nude.